Wolverine has survived gunshots, nuclear explosions. Being dropped from 30,000 feet, he has lived for over 200 years. And the one thing that has been slowly killing him every single day for all 200 of those years is his own skeleton. The adamantium that makes him nearly indestructible is simultaneously poisoning his blood, collapsing his joints, destroying his bone marrow, cooking him from the inside. And the only reason he's still alive is a hailing factor working 24 hours a day in constant, desperate battle against his own bones. Today, we calculate exactly how much pain Wolverine is in. Every single second. The answer is genuinely disturbing.
To really grasp the grim reality here, just look at this quote from our sources. They call this supposed superhero upgrade a built-in self-destruction plan. And yeah, they hit the nail on the head. It turns out, grafting an indestructible heavy metal to your skeleton isn't just a heavy burden to carry around. It is a literal biological nightmare. So here's our roadmap of destruction for today. We'll hit the myth of adamantium, the Weapon X procedure, the crushing physical toll, the invisible toxic war, and finally, look at real-world adamantium. Okay, let's dive into part 1, the myth of adamantium, breaking down this ultimate superhero upgrade. Now, what's super interesting here is that adamantium actually isn't an element on the periodic table. It's a fictional alloy, meaning it's this incredibly complex mixture of different metals. And the crazy part? It acts exactly like a thermoset plastic. That means once it's heated, forged, and allowed to cool, that's it. Its shape is locked forever. You literally cannot melt it down or reshape it ever again. And check out the extreme heat you'd need just to work with this stuff in its liquid state. We're talking roughly 1,500 degrees Celsius. To put that insane number into perspective, that puts it right on par with the extreme melting points of real-world stainless steel or even aerospace-grade titanium alloys. Moving right along to Section 2, the Weapon X procedure. This is the brutal reality of weaponizing flesh. Listen, this was definitely not some clean, sterile surgery. It was a torturous 3-step nightmare. Step 1 involved completely restraining him and grafting that 1,500-degree molten metal directly onto every single bone in his body. Step 2 relied entirely on his mutant healing factor to just desperately repair that catastrophic tissue damage in real time, because without it, he dies instantly. And Step 3 is this wild biological adaptation. The metal actually fused and formed adamantium beta, a variant that miraculously preserved his bone marrow so his body could keep producing blood cells. But the horror totally didn't end in the operating room. His captors put him through what can only be described as ritualized torment. I mean, they repeatedly forced his brand new metal-coated claws right through his own flesh over and over just to test if the bond held. They basically weaponized his own pain to enforce obedience, turning what should just be biological maintenance into this endless cycle of suffering. All right, Section 3, the crushing physical toll. Let's look at the biomechanical nightmare of having unbreakable bones. So, based on some amazing back-of-the-envelope math from our sources, the reality of his new body mass is just horrifying. Think about it. A normal human skeleton weighs roughly 10 kilograms. But Wolverine's adamantium-laced skeleton, that spikes up to an estimated 60 kilograms. That is an extra 50 kilograms, over 100 pounds, of pure, unyielding dead weight permanently fused to his internal frame. And this extreme weight comes from the metal's sheer density, which is calculated at roughly 10,000 kilograms per cubic meter. That is incredibly dense. We're talking about the same density as solid silver. Imagine just going for a run, or heck, even just standing upright and feeling like you're constantly carrying this heavy, hidden passenger that you can never ever put down. The toll this takes on the human body is absolutely catastrophic. I mean, under 100 extra pounds of internal pressure, your knee cartilage would shred in a matter of days. Your spinal discs, which are supposed to be your shock absorbers, would violently collapse, pinching your nerves. Because of all that extra weight, your heart and lungs would be forced into absolute overdrive just to provide oxygen for basic everyday movement. And to top the whole shebang off, your immune system would constantly recognize the metal as a foreign invader, triggering severe chronic inflammation. You know, the comic books promise us this unbreakable durability, these superhuman combat maneuvers, and absolute defense. But the strict biological reality? You'd be left with shredded ligaments, immediate cardiovascular exhaustion, and a permanent state of chronic internal injury. Honestly, without a magical healing factor, an upgrade like this instantly paralyzes you. Let's move right into Section 4, the invisible toxic war, the silent killer in the bloodstream. So, because this metal is not biocompatible, it simply refuses to integrate safely with living tissue. Instead, it constantly sheds trace microscopic, highly toxic fragments directly into his bloodstream. Think about what that really means. His greatest superpower isn't actually his combat skills or his strength. His greatest superpower is literally just preventing his own bones from poisoning him to death every single minute of the day. Without his healing factor constantly rushing to repair this chemical damage, the slow corrosion would be brutal and incredibly predictable. First, his overworked kidneys would scar and fail from trying to filter out all those heavy metals. Next, his liver would swell up until its vital functions completely broke down. And finally, his nervous system would violently misfire, causing devastating tremors and dulling all of his senses until he totally collapsed. And this really highlights the tragic narrative irony of the character. Like our sources point out, his legendary durability is actually a massive curse. His healing factor becomes less about repairing battle wounds and more about performing constant, invisible maintenance just to stave off chemical collapse. It's a continuous internal war, where victory isn't about winning a fight. Victory is just mere survival against his own skeleton. All right, final part. Section 5, Real-World Adamantium, finding the closest scientific equivalent. So how does real-world material engineering actually handle something like this? Well, take a look at titanium 6 aluminum 7 niobium. Unlike true adamantium, which as we have established is paralyzingly heavy and incredibly toxic, this real-world titanium alloy is super lightweight and perfectly biocompatible. In fact, doctors are successfully using it right now for human joint and hip replacements. Now sure, it won't give you indestructible claws, but hey, your immune system won't destroy itself trying to fight it off either. That's a pretty good trade-off. So after deconstructing this pop culture myth and seeing how it instantly turns into a biological nightmare of crushed joints and heavy metal poisoning, I gotta ask you a question. Sound off in the comments for us. Would you still accept metal bones if you had a guaranteed healing factor to offset the damage? Let us know what you think down below. Keep your curiosity sharp, and we'll see you in the next explainer.
If this video made you think, hit like, share it, and subscribe to this channel. Because the next mystery is even deeper. Until then, stay curious and keep